you ain't gonna do nothing. And then boom, 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 when they started getting thumped pretty hard. And then one guy, he come running by me, and I just grabbed him, I threw him to the ground, and I was just boom, punch him, because that's what I do, so I'm punching him. And
the Hells Angels built their empire on fear, violence, and loyalty. And some of their darkest moments were caught on camera. From brutal betrayals to bloody attacks, these rare clips reveal what life looks like when outlaws lose control. Today, we're exposing the most ruthless Hells Angels moments ever filmed, and the shocking downfall that followed.
Prosecutors say 54-year-old Fresno Hells Angel Merle Hefferman was involved in the secret cremation of a fellow member, Joel Silva of Livermore, who went missing back in 2014. Court records say Silva's body was never found after he was murdered for, quote, creating problems for other members.
Joel Silva, a once powerful sergeant-at-arms for the Hells Angels Sonoma County chapter. Silva had earned his position through sheer violence and loyalty to the club, but his growing drug problems turned him into a liability. As his erratic behavior worsened, Silva became a danger to the club's operations, and his brothers decided that he had to be eliminated. In 2014, Silva was lured to the Hells Angels clubhouse in Fresno under the pretense of working out differences with fellow members. What he didn't know was that this was all a trap. When Silva arrived, he was caught off guard and fatally shot in the back of the head by Brian Wendt, the Fresno chapter president. Surveillance footage captured the entire chilling betrayal. Members from both the Sonoma and Fresno chapters conspired together to rid themselves of Silva, a man they once called their brother. His murder sent shockwaves through the Hells Angels, showing that no one, not even a high-ranking member, was above the club's harsh code of loyalty. Merle Hefferman, a former Hells Angels member, played a key role in the aftermath of Silva's murder. Hefferman was called back into the fold when the Hells Angels needed help disposing of the body. This led to one of the darkest operations ever caught on camera. Hefferman contacted Levi Phipps, who owned a funeral home in Fresno, instructing him to leave the cremation chamber open. What Phipps didn't know was that he was about to become an unwilling accomplice in a brutal cover-up. Hefferman brought Silva's body to the funeral home, threatened Phipps with a gun, and placed the body into the cremation chamber. Later, it was discovered that Hefferman used the funeral home for a series of similar body disposals, including the remains of other Hells Angels members.
Hells Angels biker gang member Adam Lee Hall has been found guilty of killing 3 men from Pittsfield.
22 News I-Team reporter Ryan Walsh was in court today as those verdicts were read.
Another horrific story tied to the Hells Angels involves Adam Lee Hall, who in 2011 orchestrated the kidnapping and dismemberment of 3 men. These men, David Glasser, Edward Frampton, and Robert Chadwell, were targeted because they were set to testify against the Hells Angels in a separate case. Hall, who was a high-ranking member of the Hells Angels, was determined to silence them before they could speak in court. Surveillance cameras captured the disturbing sequence of events, including the moments leading up to the abduction and eventual murder of the men.
Adam Lee Hall's moment of freedom was over. His handcuffs were slapped back on. A jury found Hall, a member of the Hells Angels biker gang, guilty of killing 3 men from Pittsfield.
Hall, along with several associates, kidnapped the 3 victims and took them to a remote location. After killing them, their bodies were dismembered to prevent identification. Hall showed no remorse for his actions, maintaining a cold and emotionless demeanor during his trial. His refusal to take responsibility for the murders only highlighted the lengths the Hells Angels were willing to go to protect their empire.
You understand, that image is stuck in my head for the rest of my life.
In the summer of 2011, David Glasser, Edward Frampton, and Robert Chadwell were found in Beckett with their bodies chopped up 2 weeks after they disappeared.
The case was a chilling reminder of the club's ability to enforce silence through fear and violence. In the end, Hall was sentenced to 3 life terms, without the possibility of parole, a fitting punishment for a man who had shown nothing but indifference to the lives he destroyed.
multiple weapons, at least 10 motorcycles, drugs, and we believe garments that have...
Richard Deere, the president of the Hells Angels Las Vegas chapter, was at the center of a violent shootout that erupted in 2022 between the Hells Angels and the rival Vagos Motorcycle Club. The incident unfolded on Memorial Day weekend during an event at a veteran cemetery in Boulder City, Nevada. Tensions between the two biker gangs had been brewing for months, and what was supposed to be a peaceful gathering quickly turned into a deadly confrontation. As the chaos unfolded, the entire scene was caught on camera, showing the brutal exchange of gunfire that left 7 people injured, 6 of whom were Vagos members. The shooting wasn't just a random act of violence, it was a calculated attack, believed to be a retaliatory strike in a long-standing rivalry. Dare, along with fellow Hells Angels members, was accused of orchestrating the ambush. Surveillance footage from the scene captured key moments of the attack, providing a chilling look at how the Hells Angels carried out their plan with military precision. The attack was swift and merciless, a display of the club's readiness to fight to the death to maintain dominance over their rivals. Meanwhile, across the globe in Berlin, Kadir P., a ruthless leader within the Hells Angels Berlin chapter, was carving out his own violent path to power. Kadir P.'s rise within the Hells Angels was marked by extreme brutality, and he quickly became known for his ruthless tactics in eliminating anyone who stood in his way. One of the most chilling moments in Kadir P.'s criminal career was the assassination of rival gang member Tahir Obek. The murder, which took place in a public bookstore, was captured on surveillance footage. Kadir P. and his associates cornered Obek, shooting him multiple times in a calculated act of violence, meant to send a message to anyone who dared to challenge the Hells Angels. Law enforcement faced significant challenges in apprehending Kadir P. due to his violent reputation and the fear surrounding him within the criminal underworld. However, a breakthrough came when a former associate turned state's witness, providing key testimony that led to Kadir's eventual capture. Despite the evidence against him, Kadir P. remained defiant, embodying the cold-blooded, unrepentant nature of the Hells Angels. His capture and conviction were seen as a major win for law enforcement, but the legacy of his violent reign still looms large in the world of outlaw bikers.
Everyone knew Mum Boucher was a killer, and he knew everyone knew. He seemed to love it.
Maurice Boucher, the president of the Hells Angels Quebec chapter, rose to power during one of the most violent periods in Canadian biker history. Under his leadership, the Quebec chapter became a dominant force in the notorious Quebec Biker War, a brutal conflict that resulted in over 150 deaths between rival gangs. Boucher's reign was marked by his ruthless tactics and iron-fisted control. But one of his most chilling actions came in 1997 when he ordered the assassination of 2 correctional officers, Diane Levine and Pierre Rondeau. The murders were a clear message to law enforcement that the Hells Angels would not be intimidated, and Boucher wanted to send a direct signal to those trying to dismantle his empire.
But when Boucher was arrested in 1997, he was already a household name. He wouldn't be behind bars for long, and his reputation was still growing. Boucher was put on trial for ordering the murder of 2 prison guards.
During his trial, Boucher remained cold and emotionless, showing no remorse for the lives he had taken or the chaos he had caused. His stoic demeanor shocked many, highlighting his unwavering belief in his invincibility. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Boucher never flinched as the charges piled up. In 2002, he was convicted of the murders and sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole for 25 years. But even behind bars, Boucher's influence didn't wane. If you liked this video, then you certainly wouldn't want to miss out on the next one, so take a second to subscribe to our channel.